2 Movies Battle Remake.
Welcome to Battle Remake. My name is Buzz Mead.
I'm Eric Little.
We're back in studio today.
First time in a while, huh?
Yeah.
I was looking to try to figure out the last time we were back in the studio, looking at the list of shows in the past, and I can't think of the last time. It's been early June, I think.
Yeah. We've been on the convention circuit. And,
a couple shows in person. We met up in person to do one. Then, three tapings at conventions.
Yeah. So today we're talking about Rambo First Blood Part 2 versus Missing in Action, 1984 and 85. So both of these films are based off a treatment via James Cameron, which I don't understand how a treatment just... I
think he'd floated it around Hollywood long enough, and if this is how I understood it when I read into this. He floated it around Hollywood long enough, and around the same time, Rambo 2 decided they were going to pick up the idea, and someone decided they were going to make the movie Missing in Action. Well,
Missing in Action
in 2,
Part 2 or whatever like that. They filmed it back to back.
Yeah, and they hurried to get it out to screen so they wouldn't have to pay, copyright issues or have to deal with lawsuits and things like that.
Yeah.
And so what you have is two movies that are very similar in premise. Not much else, really. These aren't carbon copies.
I thought the same thing.
These aren't as similar as you might think.
Yeah.
But the premise, the overarching premise, is that there are POWs from the Vietnam War still in Vietnam, some 10 years after the fall of Saigon at this point. And someone has to go in and get them or advocate for rescuing them.
Sure.
And in both cases, the hero of the film goes rogue.
Right.
In some way.
Yep.
And attempts to rescue the POWs.
Joined Army 6 June 69. Accepted Special Forces. Helicopter and language qualified. Expert in light weapons and guerrilla warfare. Sylvester Stallone is back as Rambo. Rambo's the best combat vet I've ever seen. His mission, to locate American POWs in Vietnam.
Think you'll find someone? POWs? Doubtful.
His orders, not to engage the enemy.
He's got 36 hours to complete the mission and reach the extraction point. We're going down!
You're not going anywhere.
I'm telling you to abort. Double-crossed and left behind enemy lines.
You're the one who's making the mistake.
Yeah, what mistake?
Rambo.
And now, he's getting out any way he can. Rambo. What most people call hell, he calls home. No man, no law, no war can stop him. Sylvester Stallone is back as Rambo, First Blood Part 2.
But this is an interview with Stallone, and it's really brief, but it's just asking him about why he chose the POW as the forefront of the movie or whatever like that.
Why make the search for the POWs the thrust in this motion picture?
Well, it's a mystery that hasn't been solved, and one that is, I think, a very pertinent subject in people's minds, because it's probably the last link of the war that remains unsolved, and it's also the most painful for many, because it has destroyed their families' lives, and their wives always have this doubt, could he be alive or couldn't he be alive, and if he is alive, what is he like now? So it's a very nagging question. I often put myself in that position. If I had a brother who was lost,
Frank Stallone.
I could never just say for certain that
You
he was
guessed it.
dead. I'd want to know for sure.
Frank Stallone.
And that's why I think this movie is quite pertinent in that fact and has a lot of validity.
You know, he's partially right about some of that, too.
Yeah.
Because the POW MIA aspect of the Vietnam War was the most painful part.
Yeah.
And it remained, you know, as far as the doubt, you know, of whether or not there were POWs still there.
Mm-hmm.
And you and I were talking about this off the air, and something that, you know, reading into this issue, you know, they are close. They're only a decade out of the fall of Saigon when these films are coming out. So the hurt of the Vietnam War is a lot fresher than it is now, and especially for people of our generation.
Yeah.
That's not something we lived through.
Yeah.
That's one of those last big things maybe that we didn't live through, honestly. That and like the Iranian hostage crisis, you know, some of the last big things that we didn't live through and we weren't, you know, around to have a bearing or an opinion on.
Yeah.
But I could see where there are some people that are angry about the fact that Hollywood at this point felt the need to exploit this.
Right.
And maybe raise conflict where it wasn't at this point.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm just thinking about this right now.
And the counter-argument is there are no POWs and you're making this up for entertainment's sake.
Right.
And, you know, it's almost like UFO conspiracy theorists or JFK assassination conspiracy theorists.
Yeah. Well, I guess the example that I just thought of right now is when Fahrenheit 9/11 came out, and that was only a few years after everything happened. That I'm sure there was a similar sentiment as far as are you just trying to cash in on what happened, or
and really when you think about it, there have not been a lot of movies about 9/11.
Yeah.
About that incident. And 9/11 is a great way to look at this because we've just recently commemorated the 15th anniversary of 9/11.
Right.
So these movies, both of these movies, are closer in time to Vietnam and the fall of Saigon than we are right now to 9/11.
Yeah.
And you and I both know how visceral those wounds still are for a lot of folks.
Yeah.
And how how that affects people to this day.
Exactly.
So take a similar issue, like Vietnam, because maybe in some households Vietnam still is something that divides people, especially around the holidays. Looking around, someone's not here. Well, that's why they're not here. And it just there's always reminders.
Yeah.
And their Vietnam never ended for a lot of folks. So you could definitely see how that's something that is still very raw, and maybe they didn't appreciate Hollywood dealing with it because how many 9/11 movies are there? There's World Trade Center. There's Flight 93.
Fahrenheit 9/11.
And that's even a documentary.
That's a documentary, yeah.
Yeah.
The other thing that I was going to say, too, is that this is really a time capsule, I want to say, that how the soldiers were treated. I mean, I was in California, and I texted you that I started watching Rambo instead of Rambo 2. And he's just treated like shit in the first part of that movie just by the sheriff played by Brian Dennehy.
Yeah.
And he's clearly a vet, and they just don't give a shit that he's a vet. Like, whereas, transport us now, 30 years later, and you would never treat a vet like that.
First of all,
you'd be stoned if you treated a vet that way.
I think this is one, and this is a bit of a hot take I'm going to throw out here. I think this is definitely something that our generation has gotten right.
Yes.
That generations before us have not gotten right.
I believe so.
And when people want to complain about, quote unquote millennials, we fall into that category. If people want to complain about millennials, one of my first comebacks is, well, you know what? We got the treatment of veterans right.
Yeah.
We respect people, even if we don't. And this is one that's especially relevant nowadays, even if we disagree with the conflict itself.
Yeah.
Because there are a lot of people that don't agree with military actions in Iraq and Afghanistan.
Yeah.
After 9/11, people were all about getting Osama bin Laden, and then the focus shifted to Iraq within about a year.
Right.
So there were a lot of people at that point that weren't really on board with that as much as they were with, let's get the guys who knocked down the Twin Towers.
Yeah.
That having been said, I think pretty much anybody still supported the troops.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't their decision to do whatever, and we get that right nowadays.
Yeah. Well, and you and I just watched a piece on a Nightline that back in '84, and they kind of showed how angry people were about Rambo 2 and how it was exploitative. Yet I think it could be argued that like those films, are films of a little bit older than our generation, and it could have been through viewing like those films that we were able to get it right now, and that we saw the treatment of that through movies, and through film, like we developed, that we have to take care of vets, and we can't treat people like this, and this and
America was in a really weird place in the 1980s, and we look at America today and how divided America is because you've got the Trump campaign saying, make America great again.
Right.
And then you've got the Hillary Clinton campaign saying, hey, America's a pretty darn good place nowadays. Yeah. And it's a very divided group of, they're two very divided groups. One people say, hey, America's great. One like, no, it's not. It kind of sucks.
Right.
And it's pretty spread apart. I would argue that, look at the mid-'80s.
Yeah. They
weren't a whole lot better off then because you've got Ronald Reagan saying, well, it's morning in America, and America's awesome. And then you've got people saying, no, trickle-down economics doesn't work. The Vietnam War, there are no POWs. You're trying to find controversy where it doesn't exist.
Right.
This isn't rah-rah America. Because in the 80s, look at what they've been through the last 20, 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
You get JFK, RFK, Martin Luther King Jr., Vietnam, civil rights.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a rough period in America. A lot of violence, a lot of bad things, happening in the 60s and 70s, and then you get to the 80s. You've gone through, the Iran hostage crisis. You've gone through the energy crisis. America doesn't feel like it's on the top of the world anymore, on the top of the pecking order, anymore because of all that. We don't feel like a superpower. So then you get things like, we've talked about Rocky a little bit off the air, but Rocky IV.
Rocky IV.
Going
I was just going to say that, Rocky IV. Then you get
Rocky IV. And so many other films. We've talked about Red Dawn. On previous episodes, where we feel like we got to be superior to the Russians.
Yeah.
And there's so many of those films, and here's one with Vietnam, and Rambo 2 gloriously incorporates the Russians and the Vietnamese.
Right. Let's throw them all together.
just a big pot to stir it all in. I'm surprised they didn't fly in a Fidel Castro lookalike just for a scene or two.
Right, yeah, for sure.
Because I started thinking,
That's the Naked Gun. That's the opening of Naked Gun.
Funny you mentioned this. I was thinking of Hot Shots.
Oh, yeah,
because that's an early 90s movie. We're here in 85, and we're dealing with the Russians, we're dealing with the Vietnamese. 5 years later, it's Saddam Hussein.
Right, yeah.
And there's not even a thought given
to
using Vietnam as an enemy anymore. And there's barely a thought at that point given to using Russia as an enemy anymore.
Yeah.
Because at that point, the Berlin Wall had fallen, the Iron Curtain's down, and, the Soviet Union's crumbling.
Yeah.
But it just goes to show you how perceptions of looking at art history and America through the kaleidoscope of film, it really just, it's an interesting time capsule.
Absolutely, yeah. Let's go round one here.
Round one.
So let's talk story. Missing in Action came out before Rambo 2, but I just kind of put Rambo 2 first just because it's more known or whatever. Missing in Action, it starts out, Chuck Norris is already back in America. He has a flashback of Vietnam. For some reason, he is invited to speak, I think in Vietnam or something like that. They're doing some kind of a talk or something like that, or they're trying to put it to bed.
Yeah.
And
this is the issue.
And they invite the most volatile guy they can find.
Yeah.
And I think he's famous at this point as someone like who was a POW, or I think he was captured and then he got released or something like that. So he's famous.
It would be almost like if they had invited John McCain, but John McCain had turned out to be like a wild card at that point.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
And had the chip on his shoulder instead of going back into public service.
Yeah, exactly. So then he goes over to Vietnam, and they try to turn it around on him that like he's made up all these stories, and that it was actually him who was killed, like women and children and stuff like that. So he kind of breaks out of the hotel. He tries to find out like where they're hiding the POWs.
Yeah.
Rambo 2 is a little bit different. He's in jail.
He's in a prison camp.
He's in a prison camp
because of some of his actions from Rambo.
Yeah, okay. I didn't finish Rambo, by the way.
I read up on it.
I stopped it after.
I read up on it. Yeah.
Okay. And he's invited by Richard Crenna to take part in this operation. Apparently, his name has been run through a supercomputer, and they're like, "This is the guy you want."
There's one of
the guy you want for this
There's
mission.
one of three people who could do this, and John Rambo, a man that you've imprisoned, happens to be one of them.
Right. Schwarzenegger's one, and Stallone's the other one.
Which ironically is fewer people than were considered for the role of Rambo.
Right. Yeah. he shows up in Vietnam, and they try to get him to go do a reconnaissance mission.
Yeah.
To take pictures of this camp.
Which you have to know the whole time. There's no way in hell Rambo's going to take pictures.
Right,
like, just take pictures.
Yeah.
You know, it's kind of like asking Rambo to invade North Korea, but just to pull out a wedding cake.
Right, exactly. Yeah.
You know, it's like, there's a good bakery there. We want this wedding cake. Now, we need to extract the wedding cake, get back to the rendezvous point.
Right.
And he just kind of looks at him like, no, I'm going to try to take Kim Jong-un out. Is what I'm going to try to do.
Yeah. It's like you can extract this wedding cake, but don't eat it.
Yeah.
Don't eat it. Whatever you do.
Or just leave it there.
You leave it there. All right. Okay. So between these two stories, which did you find more interesting?
I'm glad you didn't use the word like good.
Yeah.
Glad you didn't use the word like believable.
Yeah. Sure.
Because neither of those things are believable.
Yeah.
I'm going to go with Rambo 2 here, and here's why. I found
Original.
with very little I've never seen Rambo.
Yeah.
I'm just going to flat out say that. I've never seen the original Rambo. So with very little context about this movie the time I watched it, I found this to be a movie that I could pick up and watch and digest in one fell swoop. And just, it is what it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's one of those movies that you can put on cable about any time, and anybody can get into it. And I started thinking about this kind of movie. The good thing about this kind of movie is you don't have to explain a whole lot about why these characters are connected.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah.
Nobody cares why this random woman has shown up in the jungle to help him out, and that they have a connection together. And we'll talk about, the heroine of the film later on. Yeah, Ko in this case. Mm-hmm. But we'll talk about that person later on. But you realize, like, okay, it's pretty easy to figure out the sides.
Yeah.
This guy, and this guy are against him.
Yeah.
This woman, this guy, and this guy are on his side.
Yeah.
So you just go with it from that, and you let things play out.
Yeah.
I think there are some movies that are more important if you just go in with that attitude and just chill and have fun with it. And this is one of those films. If you just chill and don't take it too seriously, don't think through too much, you can enjoy the plot of this film. So.
Yeah. I had never seen Rambo either. The closest idea that I had of this was I used to have a Rambo for some reason. I had the action figure.
Yeah.
So I recognized him in that suit, and I was like, oh, okay.
A movie that in no way we would have been able to see as kids.
Right. What I found that was better about Rambo is that it is an interesting story as far as where it takes him. I've talked about the book that I have called The Hero's Journey, and it says that around second act you got to have something else go wrong, so that there's somewhere else for him to go in Act 3. And so then he sneaks into the POW camp, and he frees one person, and then he goes to the chopper, and the chopper leaves without him, and he's betrayed by the guys who hired him to do this mission. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, okay.
And there's a conflict. There's a conflict at that level,
right? Yeah. So then, it makes the story a little more interesting, and it gives it a different layer.
So there are elements,
you kind of saw it coming, but it was interesting.
So there are elements of the American government at that point,
right,
that he is now in direct opposition with. Not to mention the fact that he's trying to get away from these guys that are trying to capture him and/or kill him.
Right. Yeah.
So, yeah.
I thought the Ko character kind of made it a little more interesting as well.
I agree.
She brought a little more softness to it, and kind of, I think, probed. I don't know if that's the right word, but she probed his his thought process on the war and stuff like that.
Right,
so
right.
And I did not enjoy Missing in Action, but I thought it was very one note. As far as just Chuck Norris basically kicking ass. And I would have liked a little more depth out of that character, because I kind of prefer Chuck Norris actually to Stallone. I want to talk about that.
I do too.
But
I do too. But I think it was just a matter of the fact that Norris hadn't done a lot of big picture productions. And honestly, Norris's movie career, they're B movies.
Yeah.
And then he gets Walker, Texas Ranger, so now he's like cult status.
Right. Yeah.
At this point.
Yeah.
But honestly, and that's why we like Chuck Norris more, truth be told. But whereas Stallone at this point is an Oscar-winning actor and screenwriter, and I mean,
easy on that Oscar.
Well, it's
true, but
the original Rocky.
Yeah. I mean, you say Oscar, and I think Pacino, I think De Niro. I don't think Stallone.
No, but I mean, didn't that win Best Film?
I
believe Rocky won Best Picture and maybe Best Screenplay too.
Okay, that's fair. That's fair.
But you're right. We don't think that with Stallone
because we shouldn't.
I
mean,
think so?
I don't think we should. No, let's go round two.
I think. See what I like about Stallone is he's a guy who helped himself in his career.
That's no argument for me.
And we've talked about this with people before.
Yeah.
We've talked about hey, if you don't really like the roles that are being written for you, or you're looking to break through, write your own stuff.
Yeah, no, he's a self-made man. I mean, I'll give him that. I will always respect. It's hard for me to.
I will always respect that about Sly.
Yeah. Let's just go two.
But you're right. You're right as well. I totally see your point.
Okay,
absolutely see your point. Okay. Direction-wise, which director did you pick? Did you most prefer? George Cosmatos from Rambo 2 or Joseph Zito from MIA?
Okay, I think I'll go with Rambo.
Original.
Director Cosmatos. I think there is a little more depth as far as just like the actual story. I mean, I get a little more of the Vietnam backstory in the movie. I like the female character better. I think the action is brilliant. Mm-hmm. It's a really good action film. I think they are trying to say something, and I think they accomplished it. I think mixing action. It's too random. I mean, for me, so I'll go with Rambo.
Original.
I think the action sequences alone, would put George Cosmatos, as the winner of this category.
Yeah,
I'm gonna go with original as well because is that what we're considering?
We're just calling. Yeah,
are we considering Rambo 2 the original?
We're just calling it original,
yeah. I would go with Cosmatos as well because those are some fantastically shot and portrayed.
Oh, for sure.
Action sequences. A lot of cool stuff blows up. Yeah, if you like watching stuff blow up on film. This is the way to go.
Yeah.
And I think it's well directed. I like how I like the interplay between the characters and how that's shown to us. Mm-hmm. I like a lot of the tight shots on things. A lot of tight shots on people's faces.
Yeah. In
this film, a lot of good reactions. To faces and the stress. Because you look at the command center. Mm-hmm. Of the military command center where they're radioing him. Everybody in there has sweat rolling down their brow. It seems like a hot, steamy, miserable place to be.
Yeah.
And
there's just way too much computer equipment in there to make any sense at all.
Right.
It was just kind of funny.
But either way, just that imagery is brought to you through their faces and through the way that they're made up.
Yeah.
This is a miserable place to be, even for those guys. Wow. So I don't know. I give a lot of the credit to that to Cosmatos.
Yeah. Okay. And then I'll just add that I watched an interview with Julie Nicholson who played Ko, and she said that. On set, like Stallone had a lot of input as far as like direction as well. I mean, as far as certain things that should happen,
because at that point,
story and stuff. Because
at that point, wasn't he directing the Rocky films?
Right. Yeah. So yeah,
I think it wasn't 3 the first one he directed.
I think probably. Yeah.
When
maybe
I can't remember. There was one of the directors that he wanted from the first 2 that couldn't do it. I think he ended up directing like the 3rd one.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's how it went.
I think you're right.
And either way, if it wasn't that one and it was the 4th one, that was probably close to being in production around the same time.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, that's the direction Stallone was moving off the camera.
Let's go 3.
Round 3.
Round 3. Which of these films do you think handled the actual Vietnam conflict better? Do you think that Rambo 2 handled it better, or do you think Missing in Action handled it better?
This is where I'm going to differ and go Missing in Action.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because I liked how Missing in Action showed the Vietnam conflict at that point from a diplomatic angle. And the diplomatic angle being it's all about negotiations and taking somebody at their word and taking the representative of that country as the voice of the entire country, because you see a lot of these high-level meetings, and he's brought into that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Rather than let's send him on a spy mission as a mercenary to take pictures. Because that is something you do with a hostile enemy at that point.
Yeah.
Like that's something you do with Russia. You drop somebody in and see if they can get some recon, or you fly a satellite over or something like that, which, by the way, we had the technology in the mid-'80s to have spy satellites do the same thing that they were asking Rambo to do. But I just like that there was so much more of a diplomatic tack in Missing in Action, as opposed to Rambo 2, where the Vietnam conflict was viewed as only the American perspective on it.
Yeah.
And it was 2 different American perspectives on it. It was America butting heads against itself which basically was the crux of the Vietnam War at home anyway.
Yeah.
There were two different factions of what to do over Vietnam. So I know that side.
Yeah.
Show me the other side of that 10 years later. Show me, that there are negotiations, and can we trust these people? Can we,
Yeah.
are all elements of the government on the up and up, and what do these closed-door negotiations probably look like, and what do these talks look like?
Yeah.
I like that element of MIA.
Okay. I was going to go Rambo until I started hearing you talk about it. So I think I'm going to go Missing in Action as well. There is a line in Rambo 2 that I like. I think it's Richard Crenna who says, "We were supposed to pay these people something and we didn't pay them, and then they kept our soldiers." Like, that's a big line, and it kind of explains like what's going on. I don't know if that's actually true.
I love Richard Crenna's character in this film.
Yeah.
Loved it.
But having said that, I do like Missing in Action. That the thing about that movie is that you do get to see, I think Thailand, is that where they go? Or where does he go that's right next to it? And you kind of see, like, I think his friend is over there and just trying to survive and just trying to run a boat. That he used to be in the war, but now he's there.
I think it's Thailand.
I think it's Thailand, right? I'm not sure.
I don't think it's Laos or Cambodia.
Yeah. But he has to go there, and you kind of see, like, the American influence, like, that's over there. And I'll play a scene from that later. But, and you kind of got to see, I think, more of that area, kind of a little bit, and just locked down. So maybe it's better. I'm not totally sure. I don't think both these films actually got it right.
Yeah, this isn't a film.
It's not a documentary.
No. Yeah. If you're a history instructor at the high school or college level and you're showing this film in class to actually try to teach the subject to your students, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, let's hope not.
If you want to show it as like, hey, this is how this was depicted 10 years later, and like as a perspective, a slice of American life. We talked about that earlier. The idea is the time capsule.
Right.
If you're showing it as that, then okay.
Right.
But otherwise, no, you're doing it wrong if you're an instructor of a history class, and this is the way you're teaching your students.
Yeah, for sure. There was a great series, actually, I think when I was growing up in the 90s, I think about Vietnam. It was called Platoon. I don't know if you ever saw it. It was on CBS.
I did not.
But it was pretty graphic, I thought, for the time. But it was a great show, and it was about just them in Vietnam. But let's go round 4 here, as soon as I find it.
Round 4.
All right, which hero did you like better? Did you like John Rambo, played by Sylvester Stallone, or is it Chuck Braddock? Colonel Braddock is, I think. Or Braddock, played by Chuck Norris.
Okay. This is tough for me. This is really tough because the character of Rambo I like. I'm not a huge Stallone fan, but I like Chuck Norris. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I get it.
So I don't know if am I supposed to vote on the actual character or the actor playing that character?
You're asking me when you wrote the questions today.
Yeah, that's right.
So I think you wrote this way and then asked me for my thoughts.
Well, I'm interested in your opinion. So
I think your vote should go on the character that we're seeing here.
Okay.
And how well that is portrayed by the respective person.
Okay. I think that I'm going to have to go with Rambo because of the longevity.
Right.
I can tell anybody Rambo even now, and they know what I'm talking about. I can say, oh, that guy went Rambo. Okay, they got it. Kind of he's this machine that just like turns on and just can kill everything.
Yeah,
which is amazing.
What's amazing is that around the same time of his career, you've got two very iconic characters coming out of Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, for sure.
Because it's very hard to separate Rambo from Rocky.
Yes,
they're very different characters. Granted, and their motivations are different, their mentalities are different, but it's tough to not compare and contrast those two.
Which is why level. I don't like him as an actor, because I feel like they are very similar. Actually, all of us. I can bring in the guy from Over the Top as well. It's like this guy who just. He's really quiet and like he doesn't really add anything, but all of a sudden, like when it's time to go, like he's fierce and he's ready to go. Yeah. And I don't buy that as a person. I feel like that character would kind of be on edge a little bit. Like with everything kind of. I don't get that out of Stallone.
Yeah.
I enjoy Chuck Norris. I kind of wish that the script would have been a little bit better for him as far as just maybe like a little more jokes or a little more, I don't know, just like the human backstory that we get like with the Rambo character. So I'll go Rambo.
Original.
The whole time I'm blown away during MIA of the idea of Chuck Norris landing in Vietnam as a free man, staring down the face of the people who tortured him.
Yeah, that's a great scene.
You're just like, wow. Like, how is this man restrained, and why on earth is he there on a diplomatic mission at that point?
Right, this is the wrong guy for this.
Yeah. It's like this is too real.
They put his name into a computer and they said this is not the right guy for this mission.
Somebody in the American government messed up by thinking it's okay to send that man
for sure
into that situation.
Yeah.
I'm going to vote against Chuck Norris in this case.
Okay.
More than I'm going to vote for Sly.
Okay. All right.
Original.
And
explain that.
It's tough to do a lot about the character of Rambo based on what I had just said, tying it to this role, because Rambo's a franchise.
Yes.
We know that there are multiple chapters of the Rambo saga out there, but I don't really care for Chuck Norris as somebody that's not the conquering hero. And he's not a conquering hero type to everybody.
Yeah.
He plays by his own rules.
Sure.
And we're seeing a different note of Chuck Norris than we're used to seeing. And it's also tough to not compare Braddock to Cordell Walker a little bit at this point.
That's the only reference you have.
Truth be told, though, I mean, is it not a little bit? So, tough guy. I buy that out of Chuck Norris.
Okay.
Problem with authority, I don't know that I buy that out of Chuck Norris. Yeah. Whereas with Rambo, I can see problem with authority and tough guy because that's just how Rambo's gone. Rambo's been, someone who didn't always play by the rules, and Rocky Balboa doesn't play by the rules. I don't know. I just buy that out of Stallone more than I buy that out of Chuck Norris. It's just a different note, and one that, and maybe it's a me thing. I don't know. It's not one that I particularly want to see out of Chuck Norris.
That's cool.
Yeah.
You'd like to see him in cowboy boots and a cowboy hat.
You're darn right I do. You're darn right.
All right, that's it for round 4. We'll play you out here with little Frank Stallone.
Oh, Lord.
We'll be right back.
I'm going to go walk off like Sly does in this movie.
Well,
where the hell's he going?
After the very end? I don't know.
He's got no shirt.
To Rambo 3.
He's wearing just this random pair of pants. He's been pulled out of... He flew a helicopter that he commandeered out of the jungle to this... He's not in America.
I don't know where he's going. But we'll take a break and we're right back here with more Battle Remake.
Rambo John Jay, born 7/6/47, Bowie, Arizona, of Indian-German descent. It's a hell of a combination. Joined the Army age 6/64, accepted Special Forces specialization.
That's how you react to any race.
Cross-trained as medic.
That's a hell of a combination.
59 confirmed kills, 2
This is all just
stars,
exposition.
4 bronze, 4 Purple Hearts, Distinguished Service Cross, and the Medal of Honor. You got around, didn't you? Incredible. Rambo, you're probably aware that there's almost 2,500 Americans still missing in action.
It was more incredible that he read that whole thing in one breath.
Right.
And lots of Americans. It's still a very emotional issue. Give me something cold, please. Rambo, you certainly don't know as much about me as I do you. I hunched with a
exactly one drink in that machine.
In 66.
We only got one Coke left.
So I know what you and every vet feels now. Maybe the government didn't care. Maybe certain segments of the population didn't care. My committee cares.
So what his committee needs is conclusive
Cove?
proof that Americans are being held.
Once done, rest assured we'll get our men back. Now, if there's any of our men at this POW target camp, you're to confirm their presence by taking photographs.
Photographs?
Just photographs. Under no circumstances are you to engage the enemy.
I'm supposed to leave him there?
I repeat, do not engage the enemy. The Phase 2 Delta Force assault team led by Colonel Troutman will handle the extraction. Okay? Anyway, I'd just like to say that I feel with your participation, this mission has a better than average chance to succeed where others have failed. I'll meet you both in the operations center in 1 hour.
Well, that's just me right now.
And everyone in America knows that Rambo's not going to follow those orders.
No.
What incentive does a man have to follow those orders that has just been pulled from a prison camp? Like, none. Like,
No.
What is the worst they're going to do to him? Send him back to that camp? Or he's going to be killed while trying to complete this mission.
Maybe he just wants to take photos. I don't know. That was a scene from Rambo 2.
Instagram those POWs, right?
You know what I don't get is why they call it Rambo First Blood, like Part 2.
It should be Rambo Second Blood. Thank you.
You beat me to that punchline, but you jackass. All right, let's talk round 5 here.
Round 5.
Let's talk the heroine of the films. In Rambo 2, it's Julia Nixon plays Ko. I think she's I think she's supposed to be Vietnamese or something like that.
She's a civilian that is working with the American government.
Yes.
On the ground, yeah.
And in Missing in Action, it's a character whose name is Anne. She's like a...
like the senator's assistant or chief of staff.
Something, right. Yeah, we're not really sure what she is. Played by Lenore Kasdorf. Of these two performances, which did you prefer?
I thought Lenore Kasdorf did a nice job to show some heart for the Braddock character.
That's not all she showed.
Yeah, that was some spectacular side boob.
Yeah.
But I thought she did a nice job to really kind of level with his plight and understand his plight.
Sure.
But I really enjoyed the Ko character
way
more than I thought I would.
Yeah.
Because the second she showed up, you're like, oh great, this is going to be, one of those things to where they fall in love somehow, or this is a romantic interest, and there's a reason this is a woman in this plot.
Yeah.
And she's actually really empathetic to him.
Yeah.
The scene where she looks at him after he says he's in a position because he's expendable.
Yeah.
When she looks at him and says, "You're not expendable."
Yeah. You not expendable.
Yeah. I mean that resonated. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But just the fact that that's probably something he hadn't been told before.
Yeah.
And that's just goes to show you, like, hey, maybe you don't mean something to a lot of people, but you mean something to one person, and that's kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool how she always had his back. I liked the scene where she dressed up as one of the prostitutes to try to sneak into the camp and bailed him out. Yeah, that was kind of cool, clever.
She does bail him out. Yeah,
this was a smart character.
Yeah, he's being tortured, and she kind of saves him. Yeah,
this is a diverse, smart character. I did not see it coming when she was killed.
I did.
You did?
I was in a hotel somewhere. This is like months ago, and this was on. I didn't even know it was Rambo 2. I didn't know, and it was that scene, like with them. She's saying,
"Take me with you."
Yeah, take me with you,
and
so like I turned on the TV at that scene, and I was like, "Oh, she's a goner."
You know
that she's going to be killed the next scene.
You whipped
out
your phone, started the timer. Like, all right, how long? How long is it be? 10 minutes?
Right. I was like, "Yep, that train's never late."
Yep.
Yeah. So, all right. So you're going original.
Yeah, I really like Ko.
Yeah, she's good. Original. She's good. There's actually, a great interview with her on YouTube that was done by a different podcast or something like that. But they interview her. And she talks about the whole process. I think she's not Asian. I mean, she just looks like she's different or Asian or whatever. I'm gonna get in trouble for something. I don't know what it. It kind of bothered me how she talked, like, I guess, broken, kind of like that.
It was a little racist. Almost.
It was a little racist, you know, kind of a little bit. And I didn't think she. I wish they would have invented a reason like why she could just talk normal. Like she could say that, I went to school, in America, or like I went to school in England or something. Something just.
Well, they had that. Her father was a diplomat.
Yeah. Well. Yeah. Exactly.
Her father was something.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they could have. I forget what.
Yeah, just to make her not talk like that, because it's
right.
It very broken, yet it have purpose. And it's just like
it cliche and take away from character.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
And sound racist.
Sound quite racist.
Yes.
Yes. Very much. It's hard to see what you look back on and say, oh, that's racist. But
doesn't that show you where we've come as a society? Back then, the issue was the depiction of the Vietnam War.
Right.
Now,
it doesn't even matter.
They didn't even think about the fact that they're making.
They're like, what about the girl you're making fun of? That's fine.
The female lead. It's a very racist look at the female lead.
Right,
no.
That's fine. Yeah.
POWs.
I go Ko as well. So
just a fresh face. I liked her in this film.
Yeah, and I don't know what else she's been in, because she's a really pretty girl.
Very pretty girl.
And her acting was pretty good too. I mean, in the interview, she talked about background in acting, so I don't know what happened. She just chose not.
I looked her up on Wikipedia, but I can't remember exactly what it was. Also, I really wanted her to be the mother of the girl in Karate Kid, the Jaden Smith Karate Kid.
Oh, I can't place her. I can't place her face.
I like that actress too, and she kind of looked the same. Like they look like that could have been mother and daughter. But I don't know.
What's a great idea?
It wasn't.
I know we talked about this before, like the idea of the Expendables or whatever, kind of. But like, what if you grab all of the female like leads from Rambo and just put him in the Expendables.
Well, like
that'd be kind of cool.
Female Ghostbusters did so well, and let's see how Ocean's 11 with females does.
Yeah,
and maybe Expendables is.
I don't think that's a bad idea. I think it's the execution. It's not a bad idea. It's always the script, always the script. So
I know.
Let's go.
And I like Ghostbusters. I like female Ghostbusters.
I know you liked it.
Yeah,
let's go round 6 here.
Round 6.
Which villain did you like? I'm going to call him Murd Dick, Charles Napier, or Senator Porter David Tress.
All right. This is a tough one. I think I'll probably go with
Original
Murdoch, just because of the I guess the fact that he's Two-Face.
Yeah.
And but I don't really understand. So they bring in Rambo like for this mission, and. Okay, let's just go like best case scenario here. It's best case scenario, he sneaks in, he takes photos, he comes back, and then they have photos of the POW camp for what purpose?
Yeah, I mean, they're trying to prove that there are... Basically, Murdoch is trying to silence people who are saying that there are POWs.
Right.
And in the scene with Murdoch and Troutman...
Right.
Troutman kind of says, I suppose if there were photos that came back, those would conveniently be lost.
Right. So what does it? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, his whole play doesn't make sense.
You could have lied and said that there was a mission.
Exactly. Yeah.
And
you didn't have to bring all these people.
Rather than
all these giant computers, you didn't have to bring them over here.
Rather than
wasted money.
Yeah. Which the government was good at doing in the 80s.
Exactly. And then Senator Porter, he for some reason brings over Chuck Norris, but then the second he brings over Chuck Norris, he just starts they like let into Chuck Norris as soon as he gets like to Vietnam. They're like, like you're like a wild card and you're an asshole and this, that, and the other. And
you're humiliating the American government.
Yeah, and I was like, well, then why bring him over here?
Yeah, you're the one that invited him.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and I mean, like, they never believe him. I think I just go with Murdoch just because, like, he has Two-Face, and the Senator Porter character is very, like, one note that he's just a dick the whole time. So
yeah.
I go Rambo.
Murdoch's his turn was visible from a mile away.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, you could tell easily early on he was going to be the douchebag in this film.
Yeah,
and I'm not entirely sure, still, who he was in bed with the whole time.
Right.
What are his motivations here, and why is he being the way he is? Yeah. I'm going to go with him, though, because I thought that was just a great villain.
Yeah.
That scowl on his face he had all the time, and he did live in some fear.
Yeah.
And right, justifiably so at one point after Rambo threatens to kill him.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Were you mad that he wasn't killed at the very end, like when Rambo had him and he took out his knife and was going to stab him?
A little bit, but I thought, wow, if they really do this is savage.
Right, yeah.
This is freaking savage if they really do go through with killing him.
You really can't redeem the character after he stabs the guy.
No, right? Are we really going to watch Rambo stab to death a member of the United States government? And they really never do say who he is or what role he plays.
Right.
Maybe he's one of like the Joint Chiefs or something like that. But yeah, like I got to that scene and I was like, I just in the back of my head did not believe he was going to kill him.
Yeah.
I had a hard time with that. And then all of a sudden, when the knife comes right next to his head, and it's just
Mission
like...
accomplished.
Yeah. I'm like, no, they're not going to kill him. And I'm glad they didn't, because you're right. There's no redeeming a savage killing.
Yeah. Although I feel like it might happen in the Expendables or something like that. I mean, I feel like sensibility like now is different than sensibility there. I feel like you couldn't do that now, but I feel like you probably could do it. You'd have to invent something like to where like maybe he almost pulls a gun or something like that, or I don't know, something stupid. But
yeah, to where like he feels like he's being threatened.
Yeah. You'd have to invent some reason.
You're right. You're right.
Round 7.
So round 7, there is a second villain, usually of Asian descent.
No, we went after the whole buffet of villains here.
That's
this
true.
One.
The guy who actually runs the camp in Vietnam in Rambo is, I guess, Russian, right?
Because by this point, the Vietnamese and the Russians are in cahoots.
Right. Yeah. Podolsky, played by Steven Berkoff, in Missing in Action, it's General Trow. Played by James Hong.
Seinfeld 4?
Yes, he's the same villain, Eric. He's the same actor. Of these two performances, which do you think was more villainous?
People shouldn't be seated on who arrived at the restaurant first. People should be seated based on who's the hungriest. Sorry, that's my favorite line from that entire episode.
Yeah, okay.
Elaine just with a completely ridiculous statement.
Yep.
You know, I didn't get enough of Podofsky to really understand, you know, why the Russians were in this conflict in the first place.
Right.
General Trau seemed really genuinely two-faced.
Yeah.
Like at the negotiating table, and just some of the things he was saying, you're just like, he's lying.
Yeah.
He looked like a guy who was lying.
Yeah.
And then he dodges the attack, the initial attack. The first thing he does is reach for a gun and try to shoot the guy dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, try to shoot Braddock dead.
Yeah.
Misses, then Braddock throws a knife into his chest.
That's right.
Yeah, so that guy just seemed like a legitimate bad dude.
Yeah.
Lying, backstabbing, you know, and just awful. We saw more of him. There's a larger sample size of why this guy was just a bad guy.
Yeah.
And
well, we saw him in the front half of the film, and then he dies halfway through. But then Podofsky is brought in halfway through, and we see him until the very end.
Yeah,
so it's kind of a weird thing to mix up.
I guess to me, this is more a commentary on whether or not you buy the Russians having anything to do with Rambo 2, and I don't.
Yeah.
And why have the Russians involved in this Vietnam piece?
Yeah.
So that's for me why I don't buy Podofsky in it.
Okay, so you're going Remake.
I'm going to go General Trau.
Wow, okay. This is a tough one for me because I don't know what we're judging here. I guess I will go Russian because he tortured Rambo.
Oh, with a hot knife.
And with a hot knife.
Ugh,
and he flew a helicopter.
Although him dying from the missile launcher,
oh yeah,
that was awesome.
Yeah,
watching Rambo pretend like he crashed and then shoot a missile launcher through the one conveniently sized.
It's a ballsy move to do that.
It's a risky play.
It's a risky play. So
to just obliterate this guy out of midair.
I think we'll have to go a tie on that one. So
yeah, we can call that a draw.
We can call that a draw. All right, we'll take a break here and we'll be right back with more Battle Remake. I love this song.
Me too.
Jack Tucker. Is he around?
He'll be here in a moment.
I was openly laughing while watching this.
Thanks. How's it going, Tuck?
Braddock, what the hell are you doing here?
I want to rent your boat.
Oh, shit. We better talk later.
I love this character so much.
Yeah.
How much?
$5,000.
He's still negotiating business while
I didn't hear you.
in the middle of this fight.
Did you say 1,000?
No. Yeah, $1,000.
That's what I thought you said. Come on.
What the hell you need my boat for anyway?
We're going back to Nam. Rescue some MIAs.
Oh, shit, Braddock. You're crazy. Said we're going back.
You owe me, Tuck. I need your help.
That's a great version of that song.
Is that marimba? God, I don't even know what instrument that is. But like
that was accordion, no?
Maybe.
I mean, some version of the accordion.
Yeah. Rod Stewart. If you like my body.
Yeah.
You know.
And I could see that being played in Thailand.
Yeah,
in a place like
seedy
that.
Thailand joint.
Makes sense,
yes,
right?
I love that song so much. It's great.
So that was a scene from Missing in Action with the actor Emmett Walsh and Chuck Norris. For round 8, we'll discuss that actor. As soon as I find the button. Did you enjoy him better as Tuck or Richard Crenna as Troutman?
You might not believe this.
I'll believe anything you tell me, Rick.
It's true. This was my toughest call.
Yeah, this is tough.
Because, I really like Troutman.
Yeah.
I think Richard Crenna does a great job in this role and received a lot of critical acclaim
for
his role in this entire series. but I like him, Emmett Walsh.
Yeah.
He is known well as he has a recurring role as Jill Taylor's dad on Home Improvement.
Oh, I've never. Okay, yeah.
If you're familiar with that show, this is the same guy you see there, who also plays a retired military man, and that's kind of what that character is known for. But this guy is just kind of a living on the fringe, trying to make some money here and there,
hiding out in Thailand,
getting kicked out of whorehouses and stuff like that, and hiding out and trying to make money smuggling stuff in and out of places. He's not supposed to be smuggling stuff. As much as I like Richard Crenna, I'm gonna go talk. This is just a really cool character who realizes you don't really know his motivations. He's kind of a shady fella.
Yeah.
You like him because you like him, or you don't because you don't. Well, we all know people like that. We can't really explain why we like these people.
Yeah.
Maybe it's because we know that they'll do what we need them to do.
Yeah.
Because they know that they probably owe us one anyway.
Yeah.
Which is basically how he gets sucked into this.
Yeah.
And
then he makes the ultimate sacrifice at the very end too.
Yeah, and Chuck Norris knows that he will. That's why he goes this route. That's his plan the whole time.
I like Richard Crenna. I think he is very passive throughout the film though, and that always bothered me that at every instance like where he got stopped, he's just like okay, kind of and like he follows the rules a lot. Even like when he sees that that Stallone is left, I mean, there to die pretty much and just be captured. Yeah. Like he never really took an initiative, and it kind of bothered me.
It's almost like he knows that no matter what his rank in the government or in the military, there's always somebody who's going to screw him over anyway.
Yeah,
this is a guy that needs to just retire from the military.
Well, yeah, and at some point you have to kind of step up and just kind of save your friend or whatever.
Right.
And I think the Tuck character is very interesting. It brings some energy. I mean, like to that film, and it needs energy because you're not going to get it out of Chuck Norris. You're going to get
right.
I mean some action, but you're not going to get a lot of energy as far as fun action stuff like that. I think his lines are great.
This guy getting knocked out from the second floor of a bar / whorehouse.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Landing on a table and just come out of Braddock.
Yeah, exactly. It's great. Let's go round 9 here.
Round 9.
Which action do you feel is better, Rambo 2 or MIA? I feel like this is going to be a short one.
This is a short one. It's Rambo. I mean, it's
Ditto. Round 10.
Yeah, right. The explosions are awesome.
Yep.
But even some of the hand-to-hand stuff, I mean, like, was really interesting. And I mean, like, one specifically was when I think Rambo's on. I think he's on a boat. And I think that a guy like grabs him from behind, and the guy's on top of the boat. And creatively he grabs his knife and he stabs him like through the ceiling, which is really interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't see that coming. So
it's my favorite line. You made it.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, I think it's great. It's not that MIA is is bad at all. It's just
no.
I feel like they didn't have the budget that Rambo 2 has. I think
the fight scenes.
Yeah.
It was a lot more hand-to-hand kind of stuff rather than blowing up villages and blowing up prison camps.
Yeah, so I'll go Rambo.
Original.
Yeah, Rambo all the way. Okay. The action sequence, whoever put that all together, it's terrific. It's well shot. It's well done. It's impressive.
It even holds up now. Like if you saw this on Blu-ray or something like that, I think it would probably hold up as far as a good action film if you just like explosions.
One of the best films that I can think of that's been made recently for explosions. You can laugh at me if you want. I think Tropic Thunder had some cool explosions.
I just recently saw that. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And to me, this holds up when you compare it to something like that.
Yeah.
With just lots of stuff blowing up.
Yeah. The other thing I was going to say is in Rambo, I thought it was thoughtful action. Like as far as like there's a scene where they chase him into a cornfield or something like that, and the whole goddamn army's after him pretty much. And you're like, okay, all right, I don't see how he could escape from this. But there's like short scenes of him grabbing like gasoline and something else like that, and grabbing this and grabbing this. And it's like I'm a MacGyver in a moment.
Yeah.
But then I think he ends up lighting the corn on fire, and it kills a lot of them like really fast. And I thought that was interesting, and it added a little more as far as thought as to how the action was going to come together and how he's going to get out of it. I thought it was good.
One of the things that I look at when basing my opinions on an action film, I look at the diversity of weapons involved. There were a lot of different things used as weapons in this film.
For sure.
Yeah, a lot of cool guns used. Like we said, a rocket launcher, grenades.
His knife,
yeah. I mean, there were a lot
iconic.
Yeah, there were a lot of different kinds of hand-to-hand combat and a lot of different weapons used.
Some giant helicopters, too.
Yeah, and some cool helicopters. So, yeah, that to me is one of the things that pushes that over the edge, too.
All right. Let's talk about the ending. Which did you prefer? Did you prefer the ending of Rambo 2 or the ending of Missing in Action?
You know, we really don't get a promise in the end of Rambo 2 that these guys are going to get home. Well, that Rambo's going to get home or get anywhere to safety. He just walks off.
Yeah.
I'm kind of going to go MIA here because I like the...
Really?
Yeah, I like them just barging into this press conference, where they're declaring that there are no POWs, and like, boom, here they are. Say something. I like that. I like that angle. Let's expose this issue to the world right now.
Yeah.
And the only way, and the best way we know how. We talked about this earlier when we were talking about Murdoch. It would have been extremely savage if Murdoch's killed.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with MIA because we don't really get any sense of finality on whether or not these guys are going to get taken care of. Maybe Murdoch prevails in the end and they get swept under the rug. But I know you're going to come back to this. You're going to come back to the speech that Murdoch
because I think it's important. I think it's important because,
it's basically the thesis statement of the film.
Exactly.
My friends died here. Part of me died here.
The war, everything that happened here may be wrong, but damn it, don't hate your country for it.
Hey, I die for it.
And what is it you want?
I want what they want. And every other guy who came over here and spilt his guts and gave everything he had once for our country to love us as much as we love it. That's what I want.
I think that's an important line for that film.
It's a very important line for the film.
Yeah.
And
it's at a good time for that line too, because after everything has happened, after all the backstabbing, after all the double talk, after
it's like you're saying, well, what were my motivations? Here are my motivations.
Yeah, and it's interesting because normally you'd have that scene, at the beginning of the film, so you're on board with the character, but then at the very end, you kind of get that. It's interesting.
It's almost like at that point of history, America was kind of saying, you know what, we goofed this thing up.
Yeah.
It seemed like there were some voices in America saying, you know what, we didn't get this right.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of feelings about the Vietnam War.
Yeah.
And whether or not America should have been in it, and that was unfortunately taken out on the men that went to fight.
Yeah.
That's not something that was fair at all.
No, it's not. And
especially since most of them were drafted.
Yeah.
They're going to be there anyway.
And so I mentioned it already, but we watched this interview piece on Nightline from I think from 84 or 85, and
85, yeah, because it was right around the release.
Yeah. And their sentiment was that this was exploitative and it wasn't. And I don't know if I believe that. I believe that after seeing this last scene again, which I don't know, but I think they were trying to reflect a certain segment of what America was feeling,
right? Or maybe what America should have been feeling.
Exactly, yeah, and maybe that wasn't popular sentiment at the time. Mm-hmm. Especially in the media, maybe it was more about, hey, this, we have to be on board with the government, and this is kind of
maybe it hit too close to home because it was right.
Yeah, exactly.
And what the sentiment was, hey, we messed up the way we treated these people.
Yeah.
So,
all right, let's wrap this up.
That's a wrap.
If you have to recommend either of these films, Eric, which do you recommend?
Oh goodness, First Blood Part 2, hands down.
Oh wow, okay.
Because this is it's a tight film. You don't really have to know a whole lot about the character, other than just have the idea. Okay, Rambo's a Vietnam vet who's a tough guy. Fine, you know that going in, and you can enjoy this film if you want to watch a film with some action, some stuff blowing up, and you get kind of into the emotional scenes of the film. Again, the relationship between Rambo and Co. MIA is not a bad picture either.
Yeah,
it gets a watchable film.
Yeah, it's not bad.
It's still very watchable.
Yeah,
but I just think the other one holds up way better. Rambo holds up way better.
Yeah, it does, and it was my first. I don't think I've ever seen. I haven't seen any of the Rambo films really. So
me neither.
But it's an easy watch. I mean, if you have no other backstory besides Rambo, like you're able just to get on board with it really quick.
It's remarkable how quick and easy this was to watch.
Yeah, for sure. I dug Missing in Action. I didn't think it was a great film by any means, but I think it's a it's an easy watch as well. And but I'd have to say Rambo probably.
Right.
So. Right. All right. That's it for Battle Remake. Oh, I guess I have to add up all these scores, right? See, dude, we haven't done this in so long. I have no idea what's going on.
Right.
You can talk about something if you want.
Well, you can follow us on iTunes. The website is battleremake.com. Rate us and review us on iTunes. We're also on Stitcher and SoundCloud. I think I got all that right. I'm not really sure if I did because Buzz usually handles that part, but he's doing Edition right now.
Ha You son of a bitch.
Hashtag Edition.
Hashtag Edition. Okay. 96 for Rambo.
It's like he's counting votes, in the homecoming ballot here.
1, 2, 3.
Who's the homecoming king, Buzz?
Hang on, I'm doing Edition. All right. Oh, okay. All right. 96, 92 for Rambo.
There you go.
That's about right. I would think.
I would agree.
Yeah, sometimes it doesn't quite reflect what we think about the films, but I think it's pretty much good.
It does here.
All right, so Eric already read off the credits, so there's only one thing left to do. My name is Buzzmead.
I'm Eric Little.
Until next time, have a good time all the time.